Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Performance Tour. I'm Scott Moore, your host. Thanks for watching. You know, when it comes to large enterprise companies, performance engineering is always a huge need. But there are some industries that have emphasized a culture of performance more than others. And while not true across the board, one industry that has, by reputation, known to lag behind in the area of performance engineering best practices is healthcare. So how do you shift performance left? How do you start operating in a DevOps model, implement continuous performance engineering in a company that's more than 50 years old with lots of legacy systems and in general just moves a little slower? Well, you can do that. And to find out how, we're going to Nashville, Tennessee to talk to my friend Jaime Martinez, who works at one of the largest privately owned healthcare systems in the world with over 2,000 sites of care. He's implemented a standardized load testing practice and process that operates across multiple lines of business. And he's doing everything he can every day to make it faster and better all the time. Let's find out what his secrets are. Jaime, welcome to the Performance Tour.
Thank you so much.
We have known each other for several years. I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while. I love that you are a person of passion about performance engineering, and you have been for some time. So we share that, and so I wanted to have that experienced on the show, other people to see you and meet you. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. Well, my name is Jaime Martinez. I work for a pretty large corporation. It's in the healthcare industry, and I've been doing performance testing since 2007. I started in a different field, financials, and then moved to healthcare, and prior to that, vital records. So it's I've been all over the place, but performance testing remains the same.
Let's talk a little bit about the process of performance testing, because you came into this organization and you began to see, hey, there's a way that we could do this and build a repeatable process. I can bring multiple people in on the team together, and you could start making this thing better and faster over time, just with the process. Doesn't matter what tool you're using. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So when I started at this corporation in particular, I found myself asking the same questions over and over and over, but I did not have them written down. So I was like, wow, I need to find a way to write them down. That way I could just read them and ask. So I started writing them down in the order that I would ask them to help me go through a meeting faster. So I cut my meetings from 1 hour to 30 minutes because I would go through these questions. And again, I don't want to take all the credit because everybody I interacted with, they were part of this. The PM asked me, hey, had you asked these questions to us when we emailed each other about the meeting? We probably would have the answers for you right now. I said, well, what if I write all these down in a document, send them to you? Would that be helpful? Absolutely, just send them to us. So that expedited the process even more. Still 30 minutes, but now we had all the answers by the end of that meeting. Instead of me saying, hey, what about your server IDs, your IP addresses, the navigation, which environment are we testing? Sometimes they didn't know. They're like, oh, I have to ask Bob, I had to ask John. Well, now you could ask John and Bob before we even get to the meeting. So that's what helped me a lot.
So it starts there, and then as you go through this, you start realizing there's some holes in there that need to be filled because you didn't think about this for the next project.
Correct.
And over time you build this system, right? So how long did that take?
Well, it's still in process. It's a work in progress. However, I would say within 6 months, I was able to put it into place. And that happened because at this corporation, we had 9 different people doing the same thing. And we have to be pretty consistent. However, I was pulled into a particular tower of business. And when I was moved to this tower of business is when I started to get more independent. My boss said, hey, do whatever you think is best. Just get projects done. Right. And I started producing a lot of projects because I was able to handle multiple projects at the same time. That led into, I would say 6 months of troubleshooting. And then after that, what was great is that everybody I interacted with told the other person, like, you should try performance testing. I got into the approval process within a year and a half, where it was a requirement for them to come through before they signed off on a project. They asked, did you performance test? Did you talk to Jaime about this? This is just for this tower of business.
And it's because you had a great reputation for seeing success. Anybody who comes to you, you help them, and now they're seeking out your expertise, and you make everything better. So it's not this them against us thing.
Yes, it is a customer service driven industry like anything else.
Right.
If I did go out of my way to do a lot of things for them, there's a lot of forms we had to fill, especially there's a form if we want to test outside of a particular test environment, we have to fill it out. I offer to do all these things for them. So it does require you to go out of your comfort zone into in helping everybody. That way it becomes like you become part of the team.
Right.
And then in the future, when there's another project, especially with the business analyst and the project managers, they think of you and they're like, well, this is my team member. I didn't need them right now. Like in baseball, the closer, well, I need to close now. I need them. So get them out of the bullpen, bring them in. And they started involving me earlier as well, which is something we asked.
The only reason they would do that, Jaime, is because you were showing value. You were showing value to the business, and they saw that, and they said, when we do this, we get a better outcome. And then they want more of it, and then your team grows, the needs grow, right? So at the end of this, you've got a well-oiled machine basically running, and you could do more projects than anybody thought you could do. I mean, what were some of the big successes you saw? Like you went from one project every month to what? I mean,
One year, I think I eclipsed the 20 project barrier. And again, it was just the process, the tools that I started using. I went from using a tool that took longer, and I took advantage of a particular protocol that really helped me expedite my scripting process. They knew what I needed when it came to a test case. It is different from just a regular functional testing. I said, whatever you want me to test, line everything up and then prioritize it. I may not get to everything, but I need you to prioritize it to tell you I can do this for this long.
And you had to do some education of the team to let them know kind of what this means, what a transaction is, what all these things are. But as you did that, they learned, and then they got faster at giving you the information. Right?
That is exactly right. We put together also a document with a project manager that basically told them our process, how you go through the process, what they should expect from us, the time frames, how long it takes for each thing to do. Obviously, it varies depending on how many scripts you're doing, but everybody started to catch on, and that really expedited the process, and it increased the amount of people interested in performance, which I was very happy about.
Right, and then at the end of that, all the timings come down, everything's more efficient. That's a win-win, correct. And I've seen that happen. I've produced that as well, and I know it's a great feeling, isn't it?
For sure.
Okay, so let's talk about this magic protocol that helped you speed up things. So there's a difference between using the standard HTTP network-based testing on web apps and then browser-based. Correct. Right? So it sounds like to me you're doing something with browser-based.
That is correct. That's the magic protocol. It all started with a particular project. The mentality was if you had to go to this particular browser, that means you're lazy. That means you're just trying to avoid, and you're not very technical. So I forced myself to go the other route. Typically, this time I was having issues with single sign-on. I couldn't really work out the projects with this other protocol. And then what I did, this alleviated that problem for me because it was scripting that part for me. We were trying to do Agile at that point, and they told me, okay, you come back in 3 months and then we'll have things ready for you to test. And I said, wait a second, I may be able to help you before that. Right. If you have your login page, I'll be able to test it for you. So they're like, fine. They agreed, they gave me that login page. I worked on it with this particular protocol, and it was working, but it was taking like 20 seconds to load the homepage. They're like, oh, that's impossible. There's no way. Why is it taking that long? I really don't know. But this is what's being produced. Let me try I tried the other protocol. I'm like, well, it's faster here. Maybe it is my tool. So I did it again and I ran it, and I'm like, well, it's still slower here. So what is this browser doing? Or what is this particular protocol doing for you? Well, it's making sure that everything within the page at the client level, it's being loaded. Yep. Okay, well, 1 sec, and they went back and they're like, we know what the problem is. Test it again. They didn't tell me immediately, so I'm like, oh wow, it's just as fast as the other one now. Yeah, we forgot to compress an image. That big image you see in the background, and there was a little video at the bottom, we forgot to compress them. That's why it was taking so long.
One of the most fundamental things you do, compressing images, making them as small as possible. And you would have never found that have you not went to browser-based.
Correct. And what I'm even the most excited about is that we were able to catch it early.
Right.
Not 3 months when our timeline was like very, very tight.
If that's not shifting left testing, I don't know what is, even though the developers aren't doing it, you're doing it for them.
That's right.
That's awesome. So browser-based is a way to speed up the amount of scripting that you're able to do. A lot of times you still need the traditional web-based to build the load up on the back end of the system,
right.
But then you need to grab the timings while it's under that load to get that
right.
full rendering. So that's how you're using browser-based, right?
We have used it that way. That is exactly right.
Time-wise, how much faster can you create a script with browser-based versus network-based?
For a pretty robust script, a day or two.
Wow.
That's how much faster you can get it done.
That's really cool. While we're on the subject of protocols, so you work in a very large enterprise that's been around for a very long time.
Correct.
You have all these different projects that are based on all these different stacks with different protocols. Tell me a little bit about some of the older stuff that you still use that isn't going anywhere.
I know my team has used it. Citrix. It's critical for us because we still have client applications. We have thick clients, we have thin clients. We've used Citrix for one of our main applications. That's how we test it because it's a client that's used at the hospital level. And that's where we keep all of our records.
But surely you don't have any of that old green screen stuff from mainframe stuff. That's all in the past, right?
The application I'm talking about right now, which we're trying to revamp it. We're trying to get back to like 2010. That's what we do our testing through, unfortunately.
So that means that there may be companies that are very young out there and you're all cloud native and you're using all serverless and it's all HTTP, HTTPS. There's still a lot of big companies that still use very, very old technology. Maybe you're using it because there's a requirement there. Maybe there's a mandate or there's some kind of legal thing going on. And we're talking healthcare here, so this is a very important application.
Correct.
But you still have to test that stuff. So it's important to have legacy protocol support in whatever tools you're using. Now, surely you could get a different tool for every protocol. You don't have that protocol, let's go get this tool. Let's pull this tool down and do it. But that causes other problems, right?
Correct. Security.
Security.
You never want to mess with those guys.
Yeah, so I mean, they want to be able to approve the tools that you're using, right? So wouldn't it be better to have one tool that supports all the protocols or as many as possible with one than having to pull down one for each protocol?
Could not agree with you more.
So it's important to have a product that supports Citrix and terminal emulation,
Correct.
and some of these other things that are still there.
That's right.
Along those lines, do you see a need for monitoring that stuff as well? Is it important to have a tool that includes all the monitors?
It's critical because you want to cover all your bases when you're producing. Now that you have cloud, I know nowadays a lot of the stuff that's coming out in cloud, because you have all these systems that have not been, I don't want to say that haven't been upgraded, but it's not so easy to just transition into what's new because of how large the application is and how many different things that you're touching, right? It's not easy to teach a nurse to change a system when they have it down.
Right.
Especially if you're introducing extra clicks or introducing new processes. All they want to do is focus on taking care of the patient.
Sure.
And if you bring this burden to them, it's going to take them longer. It's less money for us because we're paying for extra, and we're not really doing what we really want to do, which is service our patients, our clients.
Jaime, if there are other people watching this that are part of a performance engineering team, or maybe they're growing their performance engineering team and they have lots of other teams, other business lines they have to communicate with across projects, what is some of the best advice that you can give to them to see success?
The first thing I would say is just be sure that you represent yourself well, and that you tell everybody around you that you're part of the team, but not in an authoritative way. Make sure you speak up when you need to speak up. Again, not in an authoritative way, but mostly as a servant per se. You want to be that friendly team. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I think I have something that could help the team. Are you willing to listen to? If there are times that they're going to say no, whenever they say yes that first time, and they hear that you're bringing value, because you bring value, you have experience that they don't see. You always have that perspective that they don't have. And when you communicate this to them, then they see you as part of the team. Make sure you remind them that you are part of the team. Another thing is try to keep communication with a developer first very close and personal, so they could earn your trust. Once you earn the trust of that developer, then you have a friend, and then they're going to believe that you're really trying to look for the best interest of the whole team and not you trying to burn them. Right. And lastly, but most importantly, just be flexible, be adaptable. If you're able to see a need, and even though it's not your responsibility and you're able to meet that need, whether it's a PM not scheduling a meeting that you said, no, I got it, I'll schedule this meeting, to putting together a test case. They're like, we don't understand. Well, let's meet together. Show me how your application works. You watch it, you take screenshots of what they're doing, put them together, and even though it's not going to be the finished product, like, is this what you're talking about? Not necessarily, but it looks like it, and then you have something to provide to them. That includes you as part of their team.
Awesome. Very good advice. So as you might have already discovered, these magic secrets to Jaime's success really aren't secrets at all. It boils down to good collaboration, communication, good organization, and getting people excited about the success they see whenever they do implement good process. The stuff that Jaime did to go above and beyond to reduce friction and make things better for the entire team, that went a long way to getting good rapport with his other team members like developers and product managers. Sometimes it's the little things that have the most impact. And Jaime proves to us once again that a person of passion, especially around performance engineering, can be successful no matter where they are, what industry they're in, or how slow they move. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the road.